greatest moment in all my life.
Celebrations in Libya after the death of Muammar Gaddafi. Tonight on INN News, the latest on this historic turn of events and what's next for the people of Libya.
In the long run, there are significant problems, both in terms of thinking and mood problems.
Plus, they're legal, but these drugs could still be doing more harm than good for your college student, especially if they take them when they're not prescribed. That's tonight in Health. Your independent news network starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Mickle. Welcome to INN News. The end of one of the world's longest-serving dictators signals a new beginning for Libya. Muammar Gaddafi was killed yesterday after he was captured by revolutionary forces. Rick Vincent has more on what's next for the country.
Celebrations over the demise of Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi stretched from Tripoli all the way to the gates of the White House. Gaddafi's death marks the final blow to his 42-year reign.
We are so happy. It's the greatest moment in all my life.
This is how it all ended for Gaddafi. Video shows he was captured alive but bloodied. Libyan revolutionary forces say they found him hiding in this drainage pipe.
When I saw Gaddafi's face covered with blood, I saw a man who covered Libya for 4 decades with blood. So he has to, in his last moment, last day, he was covered with the blood that he covered Libya with.
The official word is Gaddafi died after being caught in the crossfire of a shootout following his capture. Libya's transitional government says it's now focused on stabilizing the country. That includes tracking down and securing the stockpiles of weapons spread across Libya.
We want also some expert to help us to get rid of this kind of arms, missiles, which Gaddafi took them anywhere. We don't know where they are.
Gaddafi's death also means NATO's 7-month-long campaign in the country will come to an end, and the focus now moves to nation building. I'm Rick Vincent reporting.
Amnesty International is calling for an independent investigation into Gaddafi's death. The group also says his inner circle and family should be treated humanely and given fair trials when captured. Well, some people having trouble selling their homes are getting overseas help. Many foreigners are buying U.S. homes. According to the National Association of Realtors, they spent $82 billion buying U.S. homes between March 2010 and March 2011. And we could be seeing even more international neighbors soon if the Senate gets its way. It proposed a new bill that would grant U.S. visas to international investors who agree to spend at least $500,000 on residential real estate here. Thailand's worst floods in half a century continue to threaten downtown Bangkok as northern suburbs begin to succumb to the sheer weight of water, and you're looking at brand new images here. The Prime Minister has invoked a natural disaster law giving her full powers to deal with the widening crisis. One province just outside the capital is already inundated with one industrial area under some 6 feet of water. Protesters lined the streets near Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada on Thursday. They demonstrated outside an event where former U.S. Presidents George W. Bush and Bill Clinton were scheduled to speak. Amnesty International called on Canadian authorities to arrest Bush for war crimes. Activists announced Occupy Wall Street-style protest of the economic summit. No comment from the Canadian government. Occupy protesters kicked out of the city square in Melbourne, Australia. They'd been camping out of the square for a week. The protesters refused to move, and up to 200 police were called in to move them out. Police started moving the protesters out Friday morning, and they tore down the site. The European Space Agency puts 2 satellites in orbit. A rocket carrying the satellites launched from the European base in South America today. They're part of a planned rival to the United States Global Positioning System. The launch is a major milestone for the European space industry. And that's your Global News Now. The president's job creation bill failed to make it through the Senate last night. Senators worked late into the night before deadlocking 50-50 on whether that bill could be brought to the floor. At least 60 votes were needed to bring a proposal up for debate. It's the second time in 2 weeks the Senate has killed a version of President Obama's jobs plan. Republicans say the president's plan would raise taxes and hurt the economy. President Obama is welcoming a new member to his cabinet. The Senate approved John Bryson's nomination as the new Commerce Secretary. Before this, Bryson served as a senior advisor at the investment firm Kohlberg, Kravis, Roberts & Company. Bryson replaces former Commerce Secretary Gary Locke, who was tapped in March to be the U.S. ambassador to China. The U.S. military wants to start a recycling program in space. The Pentagon announced the Phoenix program to find a way to use parts from out-of-use satellites orbiting Earth. NASA says about 100 dead satellites are drifting about 25,000 miles out. They may have valuable parts that can be reused, like antennas. Other satellites could be repaired or have their systems upgraded, essentially creating new units. Private contractors can begin submitting proposals in December, with work beginning as early as next year. Well, listen up, Wells Fargo customers. Your personal account information could be in someone else's mailbox right now. The bank says it mistakenly sent the wrong bank statements to some customers in Florida and South Carolina. Wells Fargo says a faulty printer is to blame for the problem. It says the mix-up did not pose any security risk to bank accounts. No word on how many from the bank, but there are reported that it affected thousands of people. Encouraging news for anyone contributing to their 401ks, but things are not looking as good for Walmart employees who need health care. Phil Doherty has that and more tonight's Back to Business.
A watchdog report says millions of Americans took education tax credits last year that they shouldn't have. It says the credits were given to people who either didn't have a Social Security number, were in prison, or couldn't prove that they actually went to college. The Treasury Department says this cost the American taxpayers more than $3 billion. Some good news from the IRS. Starting next year, workers will be able to contribute more money to their pension plans. The contribution limit for 401ks will be $17,000 for tax year 2012. That's $500 higher than this year's limit and marks the first increase since 2009. IRS officials say rising inflation is behind the change. Walmart is rolling back health benefits for first-time staffers and raising premiums for many full-timers. The retail giant reportedly told employees this week that future part-time employees who work less than 24 hours a week will not qualify for health coverage. Also, new employees working 24 to 33 hours per week will not be able to put their spouses on their plans, but children will still be allowed. Walmart blames rising costs for the changes. Microsoft's revenue soared to a record high in the company's first fiscal quarter, which just ended. Strong sales of business productivity and server software are credited for the increase. Sales for the most recent quarter were $17.4 billion, and that's slightly ahead of expectations. Microsoft's net income for the quarter was $5.7 billion. For Back to Business, I'm Phil Doherty.
Funeral services for racing veteran Dan Wheldon will be held tomorrow in St. Petersburg, Florida. The two-time Indianapolis 500 winner died in a fiery 15-car wreck at the Las Vegas Indy 300 over the weekend. Wheldon was born in Emberton, England. He lived in St. Petersburg with his wife and two young sons. A fund has been established to help provide for his family. Well, New York officials are threatening to shut down a Brooklyn bus line over claims of segregation. Women are reportedly forced to sit in the back of the bus on the B110 line. The bus serves a large population of Hasidic Jews, whose religion calls for men and women to be separated. Mayor Michael Bloomberg says the city will not allow discrimination. The Department of Transportation is threatening to shut down the bus service if it continues to force women to sit in the back. Well, we've heard the warnings for a long time, but can cell phones really cause cancer? A new study contradicts a lot of what we've heard. We'll have the details. Plus, looking for some good deals this Halloween? Our Super Steals queen, Erica Rodriguez, has some great advice.
Preparing for a rush of trick-or-treaters at your door? I'm Erica Rodriguez. Coming up, I'll show you how to save money on Halloween candy.
And we want to remind you INN News is on Facebook, and you can find us on Twitter at INN News Network. And we're on YouTube. We're reaching out to you so you can reach out to us. INN News will be right back.